Hi there and welcome to tonight's live show. Hi there, Hanadix. Welcome to the live stream. Where from? So today it's all about Witcher, and Witcher 3 specifically. But we're going to talk a little bit about my own backstory and connection with the Witcher series and the Witcher game. Super Scary Ghost, welcome to the live. Good to see you. Yeah, so we're going to talk about the music, listen to the soundtrack, talk about the instrumentations, maybe harmony, music, and yeah, also the game and the story within the game and whatnot. So to begin with here, we're listening to one of my own tracks from my album called Diabolical Lilith. It's a track called Serenade of the Winter Queen. So this is not going to be a totally blind reaction, because I actually finished Witcher 3, though it was quite some time since I played through the game. But I did finish Witcher 3. I didn't finish Witcher 1, nor did I finish Witcher 2, but I played both games when they came out. And I think the Witcher 1 came out like in 2007, 2008 something, if I'm not wrong. Witcher 2, I think it was 2012 or 2011 maybe. Assassins of Kings. So I have the Witcher 3 here for the PS4 and the original Assassins of Kings, the Witcher 2. And the cool thing about Witcher 2 is that I also got it with the bonus DVD, so I have the soundtrack. Oh, what I miss the booklets and all the sweet stuff you got with the physical products. Really miss that with the digital downloads. Especially back in the days when we got like boxes and stuff with like extra stuff. Just gonna lower the volume of the background music just a little bit here too. Yes, I remember when I bought Chaos Strikes Back, if anyone remembers that game. It's like Dungeon Master 2, but called the Chaos Strikes Back. And you got this little coin within the box package. And some maps and stuff. Really cool. Unfortunately, I didn't play the DLCs for Witcher 3. But I did play the OG game quite extensively. So what's your own experience with the Witcher series? One thing I do remember from like the older games like Witcher 1 and Witcher 2 is that it was the Witcher 1 was of course very like it was very special when it came out, because it was a more like adult kind of story and adult kind of storytelling. So that's one thing. And yeah, what was kind of not so good with The Witcher 1 and 2 is the action part of the game, or the like battle system. It felt very backwards, and all the meditating and stuff. I think they managed to get all the parts to fall into place with The Witcher 3 game, because it's one of those games that felt like a big empty space as soon as you finish the game. I felt the same thing now with the Clair Obscure Expedition 33, when you finish this amazing emotional arc throughout the game. And then when it's all over, it's like, where do I go from here? It's a very empty space after finishing such a epic cinematic game. And the same feeling was with like Skyrim and with Witcher 3. So if some of you watching the show tonight hasn't played the lovely RPG adventure Witcher 3, highly recommend you to just go and grab it. It's probably gonna be pretty cheap these days. I mean, it was released in 2015, so it has a few years on its back. But it did remake the inventory system at some point, and I don't know if I like the older system or the new system, but yeah, they made some really drastic changes to the inventory system. Yeah, it's a Polish game with a Slavic world, and I think it's called Wiedźmin. Wiedźmin on Polish. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but that's The Witcher. Yeah, I heard the Blood and Wine is gonna be a really good story. But I mean, it was an amazing experience. I remember the first time I actually bought The Witcher with the PS4. So it was quite the amazing experience when you boot up the PS4 for the first time and insert the Witcher 3 disc, and you get this amazing menu and just the feeling when you enter the forest and hear the wind blowing in the trees, and like the graphics is just on a totally different level compared to other games that you played at the same time. Rudid Lemma. Can I call you Rudid? Yeah, good to have you for a bit. 8 Art, 3K. Welcome to the live stream. Yeah, so all the new watchers here on the show, say hi in the chat, and please tell me where you're from. Yeah, Wiedźmin. Okay, a man who has knowledge. Wiedźmin. Yeah, sounds right for The Witcher. Okay, from Poland. Awesome. Good to have you. Yeah, so we're gonna get started here, I think, with the first track. And yeah, so we were listening to a few tracks here from my own personal album, Diabolical Lilith. It's a double album if you want to check out. And it's if you love the Witcher soundtrack, I hope there's a few tracks on this album that you'll like too. It's a similar kind of vibe and atmosphere. Darkness. Vampires. From Sunny Caliph. Okay, so let's fire off the first track here, The Trail, from The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt soundtrack.
Słyszę
Yeah, so that's like everything that's The Witcher about in one solid track. Some really ethnical Slavic instruments. You have like saz, or what's it called? This different type of like string instruments, almost like guitars, but I think it's a lute, saz, maybe some lyre. Maybe there's some instrument called kementia in there. It's a little bit hard to hear when this in these like massive mixes where you have so many instruments at the same time playing. But indeed, a lot of like Slavic inspired string instruments, and also that Slavic kind of singing, which is quite unique, I think. Gives a very interesting vibe. Foxos, welcome to the live. Hey there. Hi from the USA, Bufudit. Also welcome. Good to have you. Art 3K, you're trying to compose music for your indie game in Bitwig. Yeah, it really requires a little bit of practice, especially to if you're gonna compose these types of cinematic tracks. But generally, as we can hear with the soundtrack here for The Witcher, there's plenty of like real recorded instruments. Maybe even some of these like percussive instruments are also like real recorded percussion. But there's some samples mixed in, I guess, too. But most of these like ethnical string instruments are real recordings, and that gives it this really personal flavor. And you'll hear that throughout many of the tracks from the soundtrack today. Because if you play the same things with samples, it's not going to sound nearly as like humane or human, so to speak, or as organic. Because there's a very organic and gritty, almost dirty kind of flavor over the Witcher 3 soundtrack, which I really enjoy with the soundtrack. And as someone mentioned there, it's probably not something that you just listen on a daily basis, but I've actually listened to this soundtrack on quite a few occasions while not playing the game. Obviously, most game music are obviously going to be better within the game when you enjoy the tracks to a certain atmosphere or a certain like biome within the game. Yeah, it's always good to have a harmony with you if you want to compose intricate soundscapes and scores. Hunt or Be Hunted, yeah, that's a really good one. Yeah, it's too bad they don't have everything on Spotify. Priscilla's song, yeah, it's also a very good one. There's a lot of good tracks on the soundtrack. So let's continue with the trail. So that was the first track from The Witcher 3, Wild Hunt, The Trail. There's a lot of tracks on the soundtrack. 55 tracks. Quite extensive soundtrack. He pulled out the guitar. Yeah, that happens a little now and then because I get inspired. And I actually made sure that I have the timing correct here between the microphone and the music in the background. Because in the previous live stream, I actually had the music was 275 milliseconds off. And that's obviously not going to work if you're trying to play along. Because I was hearing the music and then playing along, and it was all tight and fine. But then when I listened back to the live stream afterwards, it was obviously quite off. If it's like 25 milliseconds or 20 milliseconds, it's gonna be okay, but almost 300 milliseconds, that's quite off. Yeah, so next track, the Geralt of Rivia. And if you're all new to the Witcher series, Geralt is obviously the main character of The Witcher world, or the story here in The Witcher Wild Hunt. While there are some other characters that also get a little bit of attention, like Ciri and Triss and the Bloody Baron. We'll come back to the Bloody Baron later here. Geralt of Rivia. Beautiful theme. Yeah, me too. What an ending. What an ending to that track. Really love that huge boom sound. If you have some good headphones or listening to some good speakers, listen to that really powerful deep tom at the end. Yeah, really love that one. Geralt of Rivia. The Hard Problem. Sup, listening to The Witcher 3. Good to have you on board. Yeah, there's probably a lot of tracks that's not in the official soundtrack here on Spotify. But as usual, there's tons of atmospheric tracks that don't end up on the soundtrack albums because they are just maybe not as pleasing to listen to just by themselves. You have to listen to them within the game. Yeah, Cyberpunk was quite the rough release. A lot of problems and bugs and everything from the get-go. But seems like they managed to get steering back on the boat, so to speak. Because I'm actually playing Cyberpunk 2077 now. And as soon as I heard there were problems with the initial release, I left it on the hold for a while. Left it, yeah. Yeah, it's actually really good. I had a little problems with the introduction, and I was like waiting for when is the hook for the game, so to speak. But as soon as they leave the hook, I'm hooked. So now I'm playing. It was a much smoother introduction to the story in Clair Obscur, I think, compared to Cyberpunk. It's a little bit harder to get into the story with Cyberpunk. So let's take the next track, Eredin, King of the Hunt. A lot of tremolo strings. Tremolo strings, perfect for Halloween music. Maybe the Witcher 3 soundtrack here is the perfect score for a Halloween party. What do you think? Now we're building tension with the ostinatos. And the final Brahm at the end. It reminds me a little bit of the Batman Dark Knight music here at the end with the brass. Yeah, really epic track, Eredin, King of the Hunt. So we have in the beginning there some tremolo strings, of course, to build up the tension, which is then replaced with this ostinato figure. And again, ostinato is just a repeating figure or a phrase that you play. Often on cellos when it's fantasy games or fantasy soundtracks, or any type of film score. Yeah, you have a lot of that kind of mixtures of instruments also in Sherlock Holmes soundtrack. Actually, if you listen to the Sherlock Holmes soundtrack, It's actually has some similar vibes to the Witcher 3 soundtrack in the instrumentation, because you have these kind of non-traditional, at least for like Western music, non-traditional like lute instruments and other instruments that you're not that common in film scores. And obviously these ostinatos and tremolo strings and stuff, that's all Hans Zimmer style sounds. But I feel that when I listen to the Sherlock Holmes soundtrack, which is also a very, very good soundtrack, so if you haven't listened to that one, make sure you do that after the live stream, because it has a lot of similarities to the Witcher soundtrack. And there's tons of cool tracks on that soundtrack too. Thanks for reminding me of that one, because I like forgot the Sherlock Holmes soundtrack. I really need to go back and listen to that one. Maybe also do a live stream on that one, because there's tons of great music in that one. Yeah, you know, all those tremolo strings and that ostinato give you a lot of pacing and tension, urgency. Next up we have a little bit of a shorter track, Wake Up Ciri. Yeah, it's a really beautiful track, that one, Wake Up Ciri. And this one is actually composed by Mikołaj Stroiński, while the other tracks we listened to previously is Marcin Przybyłowicz. It's a little bit hard to pronounce the Polish names there. But I really like the flavors that you hear in the harmony. It's really special for the Witcher soundtrack here, I think. This one is really one of the more dramatic ones. Let's see this part. And that pitch bend in the string, so beautiful. And that's what you get with real instruments compared to if you make it with samples. It's going to sound less expressive and dynamic, obviously, but you can hear there's a lot of real instruments in this recording that makes it very alive and beautiful. That note. Has so many beautiful sections. And there's a lot of these like swelling strings that you hear in this specific part of the Wake Up Ciri 2 that you will hear throughout the Witcher 3 soundtrack too. Really gorgeous harmony in my opinion. Yeah, it really fits the character of Ciri. The next one here is a real favorite of mine called Aen Seidhe. Aen Seidhe. They like to play in D on the soundtrack apparently. To tritone. Yes, it's really beautiful to have that droning sound in the string instrument in the background. D minor chord to a D minus 5. That gives it this dissonant and mysterious flavor that you hear in a lot of the cues of the Witcher 3 soundtrack. And now we're going to diminish the 5, or not diminish, but we're going to lower it to. So we get a tritone interval from our D, which is the root key of the composition. The fifth is going to be the A, and if we lower that, we get an A flat. So the D to A flat. And by themselves like that, it sounds like an alarm of an alarm or something. So you're going to notice that the kind of interval throughout the Witcher 3 soundtrack on occasions. Yeah, it's really cool, that theme. Which is the second note. And it will sound quite unresolved, the chord. Sus2. Also very common note here in the soundtrack. Yeah, it really sounds like you're traveling somewhere with that slow, not galloping, but that slow percussion driving the track forward or driving the journey forward. PS4 version, PC is better. Well, I did notice a little bit of lagging at some occasions, but I really don't feel it was like a bad experience. Though if you have a really good graphic card, I'm sure you had a great experience with the PC. That said, if any of you played Witcher 2, did any of you play Witcher 2? I know I had big problems with my PC setup to get Witcher 2 running fluidly. I never got it to run properly. It was always a little bit slow and lagging. I guess the graphics engine wasn't as good as the graphics engine in Witcher 3. They did a lot of improvements for the Wild Hunt. I mean, the whole train generation system to generate the map of Witcher 3. It's like an insane work. Yeah, so by all means, shoot your favorite tracks from the soundtrack here in the chat, and I'll play them. I think we need to play the next track here. It's Emhyr var Emreis. Really love those bends on the strings. It sounds a little bit like a James Bond movie or something. But you instantly recognize the harmonies from Witcher 3 when you hear these tracks. So here the same kind of a melodic idea there to go to from the fifth and lower the fifth and then go to the fifth again and then raise the fifth so it becomes a minor sixth. So and this cue is in C compared to the previous cues which were mostly in D minor. So this one is in C. So it's really cool to get this really small, it's like one of those like core motifs that instantly tells that this is the Witcher soundtrack. At least to me, that's like a pinpointing. If I hear those intervals, it's either Diablo. It's either Diablo or it's gonna be the Witcher soundtrack. Probably the Witcher soundtrack. So I'm just baking in just a little bit of music theory here into the show. You can let me know if it's too much or if it's doable. Yeah, that's the end. And the next track is also very sweet, called Spikeroog. Again, let me know here in the chit chat your own experience with the Witcher franchise. You can talk about the Netflix show, what you think about that. I actually personally really enjoyed the first seasons. Obviously, Henry Cavill is like the perfect Witcher, in my opinion. He works for the character and understands the character, has read the books, played the games. Yeah, and now we will have Liam. Let's see how that goes. So next track, Spikeroog. Really love this one too. I love all the tracks. So good memories. It's nostalgia. Again, a track in D. Again, on this track, the composer is Mikołaj Stroiński. So he's making more of the emotional tracks, it seems. Some really beautiful melodies in Spikeroog, and it's really lovely to hear the interplay here between the strings, which are quite loud here in the mix and very, pronounced, so to speak. Yeah, very similar to the Braveheart soundtrack, like you mentioned here, The Hard Problem. And it's very sweet to hear the flutes coming in and out, and some of the flute sounds are a little bit like on the darker side, some are on the brighter side. There's some bagpipes in there, and some really sweet organic instruments mixed in with those lush strings, those soaring violins and violas. Really lovely to hear. And indeed, overall, like a Braveheart kind of vibe on that track, Spikeroog. Yeah, it's definitely towards so true, the Celtic kind of vibe. So we have these different styles mixed in here. We have Celtic. We have Slavic, especially with those voices and these string instruments. But there's also Celtic instruments. I think it's a mixture of a little bit of this and that, and that's also really cool because it gives the soundtrack a more like outerworldly. I always say outerworldly, but this kind of mystical flavor to the soundtrack, which is really enjoyable. And it's really cool when you hear those soundtracks like The Witcher here, where you can instantly pinpoint, okay, you hear it's those 5 chords to -5, which is the tritone. So you have that as the trademark for the soundtrack, or the +5 also. And you have the Celtic and these Slavic instruments, which also reminds us of the Witcher soundtrack. So there's tons of stuff that instantly makes it recognizable as a soundtrack compared to some other more generic soundtracks where you're just using the Hollywood strings type of sound. Maybe you use epic percussion, and that's not going to make the soundtrack as rememberable, according to my own point of view on this. Because I feel it's more recognizable if there's a unique mix of instruments, like we have here with the Witcher 3 soundtrack, these organic string instruments, the lute and the lyre and the mandolin, and I probably can't name all these instruments, but I know a few of them by name and by ear, but not obviously not everybody, all of them. And there are some bagpipes also in there. So it's really, really cool. So that's also a good thing with if we listen to the Clair Obscure soundtrack. That's also instantly recognizable. Obviously, because of several reasons, because they have real singers that's singing real lyrics on these tracks. That's also another factor that makes it more recognizable. But they also use these weird mixtures of sounds in the soundtrack, and that also makes it unique and easily recognizable. And I think, at least personally from my point of view, it's a bonus point if the game do that, or if the producers of the game and the music producers of the game decide to add those kind of flavors to make a really unique sound sphere for the game. What should we listen to next? Oh, there's so many good tracks in here. And it's really good that not all of the tracks here are too long. They are 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. Some are 3 minutes, but mostly around 2 minutes long. King Bran's Final Voyage. So I was just going to say that the sound of this particular track, this is composed by Marcin Przybyłowicz. And I was going to say that this is one of the tracks that sounds more like a typical Hollywood film score kind of track. And then suddenly you have these like brushed percussion in the background to bring us back into the Witcher atmosphere. It would have been lovely if they have added a little bit of that more like Celtic or Slavic flavor into this track too, to make it more coherent with the rest of the soundtrack. Yeah, so obviously a very sad, like farewell song, this King Bran's final voyage, as the name suggests. Now I'm not gonna dwell too much into the story of Witcher 3. It's been a while since I played the game, but there's one particular story that I probably there's probably a lot of people that remembers this storyline, and that's the Bloody Baron. Anyone recognize that one? It was one of the most talked about or bespoken storylines from the Witcher 3 story, from the whole game, because it was such an intriguing and unique storytelling compared to what we had previously in games. It was talking about like child abuse and we had this Bloody Baron. Maybe I shouldn't talk too much about the actual story here, but it's like later on in the game. But it's about the Baron who is missing his wife and kid. And you get this as a mission to find the kid and wife. And the story and plot unfolds, and this Baron isn't really as nice and kind as it seems to begin with. Yeah, it's the absolute... I always think about this quest when I talk about different games or think about different games, that always come back to that storytelling. It's like the perfect quest, how it's told, and all the different characters, how they are involved in the story, and yeah. And like the only time I felt the same with the storyline is like now with the Clair Obscure. It's as engaging as a story, because here in Clair Obscure there's you have this character called Melee, and I also have a daughter, and she's 14 years old, so that gives you a certain, as a father, that gives you a certain relation to the character within the game also. And it's like the same thing with the Bloody Baron. Although I didn't have kids when I played the Witcher 3 game, but there's something with that story. You really have to play through that storyline in Witcher 3. So if you ever play the game, make sure to play the Bloody Baron quest. It's just one of the best game experiences ever. Next up, the Nightingale. Track number 12. I love the track. So this next one is the City of Intrigues, and as you can hear, it's more of a like a battle track, battle theme. Yeah, really would have been great if they put as much effort into the other quests as they did with the Bloody Baron, Rudy. But I guess that's it's extremely hard to know what's gonna work also with the audience. So I wonder if they really had an idea when they built Witcher 3 that the Bloody Baron was going to be such a big hit with the audience. I have no idea. But it would be lovely if they brought in some more story writers for The Witcher 4 to get like the same overall quality of the storyline as in Clair Obscur. Not to poke about the storyline of Witcher 3, it's also quite cool story. Yeah, it's a lot to juggle with game development. There's so many factors. It's so lovely to hear all these different instruments like poke out of the mix from time to time. Sometimes you hear a little bit of a lute that like pokes out through the mix, and then you have a string part that pokes out, and it's really nice weaving of melodies in The Witcher. Next up, The Hunter's Path. Another track in D. Yeah, you hear this track a lot in the game. I also associate it a lot with like playing in the game, and just listen to how the percussion works in this track. It's just some really unique sounds. Like these different brushed cymbals and stuff. It's really lovely. Very organic. And that lead instrument on this track, that's also like trademark Witcher soundtrack. I don't know what kind of instrument it is. It's not a cello. It's some other... Maybe it's a Slavic kind of string instrument. Let me know if you know the name of that instrument. Yeah, really cool track, The Hunter's Path. And what I love about that track is, as a drummer, is the percussion work on the track, because it's not like just a general loop that works throughout the whole track, because you hear a lot of small details on those cymbals, some brushed cymbal works, and you have a lot of different like hand percussions. And it's not like it's the same thing throughout. You have a lot of organic things happening in the small details there in the percussion. That's what I really enjoy about that tracks. But all in all, it's like a very floating kind of vibe in that track. And it works very nicely as a background music piece when you're playing within the game. The Hunter's Path. The Elven Path. Nightwish. Next up, Kaer Morhen. The Fort of Kaer Morhen. This. Thanks for joining, Red Blood Pivot. So what you hear in many of these tracks is that they sound quite like unresolved, because you have the one chord at D. This is another track that's in D minor. Then it goes to the F major, and then the G. And you never hear the 5 chord because it goes back to the 1 chord again. So you get this kind of, again, outerworldly kind of feeling, or just floating kind of vibe in the track. And bang boom, we're right into the next track. Eyes of the Wolf. This is the one, as you can hear just by that little snippet, it's a lot more Slavic sounding. Again, a beautiful track, the previous one, Kaer Morhen. So we're gonna head over to the next one, Eyes of the Wolf. And again, let me know here in the chat your own experience of the Witcher franchise. Did you play Witcher 1, Witcher 2, Witcher 3? How did you like these different games? Okay, a remake of a Witcher 1. That'll be something, Rudy. I heard... yeah. I mean, there's the story in Witcher 1, there's nothing wrong with the story and stuff, so I'd love to see a remake, because the graphics, it hasn't like aged very well if you take a look at it now when you've played The Witcher 3. And if you've seen like games Ghosts of Tsushima or Ghosts of Yutei. It's gonna be hard to play Witcher 1 after playing these games. But the story was okay, and also the characters was quite funny. There's a lot of humor. The very warm, cold humor of Geralt. That's what I think. Henry Cavill really got the tone of the game Geralt, so to speak, for the Netflix series. That was quite cool. The always annoyed Geralt. Yeah, would definitely be better to play these games, the older games, with today's graphics engines. Next track, Eyes of the Wolf. It's a banger! Damn, that's an angry voice. And there's so many like ballsy details in this track. Love the Slavic voice there, almost sounds extremely angry, shouting the phrases. And when you hear this in the game, it definitely takes you someplace else, because you never heard these kinds of tracks in another game previous to Witcher. It's really lovely. Has a really aggressive track, The Eyes of the Wolf. So it definitely gives the Witcher 3 soundtrack its own unique character. The Screaming Lady track. We're gonna remember the track by that name. Yeah, I guess a lot of modern games, at least these like open world games, with the hottest Unreal Engine graphics, do require a lot of CPU and GPUs. I still mostly only work on like the MacBook Pro M4 and do all the playing on the PS5 or the PS4. We have a PS5 here in the background, which is my like gaming station. We have that one over there. And then we have a PS4 downstairs. $750 Titan. Yeah, I also had that the graphics card. Played just fine. Yeah. It was a lot easier to play Witcher 3 when it came out compared to when Witcher 2 came out. Because I think, at least among my friends and myself, the computers at that time, we didn't have like the graphics power to play Witcher 2 properly. It was a little bit laggy. Was definitely better, but as I said, I played The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt on the PS4. I've yet to install it here on the PS5. I intend to install it and see how it's like these days. And play the DLC, Blood and Wine. Cloak and Dagger. Sounds a little bit like a Western track when we get the flutes here after we have been introduced to the theme. Again, another track in D minor. Nothing wrong with D, I love D too, so... It really helps the track to build the anticipation with that breakdown section that we had with where we get rid of some of the drums. Yeah, this is definitely more of like a theme kind of track with this. Lovely bend. That was Cloak and Dagger. And here we have Forged in Fire. So as you can hear with many of these tracks, you have this ostinato, often in D. And often in a cello or one of these like string instruments. So it's like a common theme also throughout the soundtrack. And also hear that weird bass that we get to hear, or weird upright bass. It's not an upright bass, it's some other kind of instrument, but again, it's really cool to find these instruments where it's a little bit hard to pick out exactly what kind of instrument it is. Is it just an electric bass with a weird signal chain? That phrase. Yeah, indeed, it sounds a little bit maybe like a samurai movies. Like a Western movie. And I was also going to point out that it feels a little bit in common with the Last Samurai, also one of my favorite soundtracks. The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise. It's a really cool track. Love the Slavic instruments. And it has a very folky flavor to it, very folky overall vibe to the track. Yeah, give it a listen, The Last Samurai. But this track, Forged in Fire, definitely sounds... in fact, for the Volo Man. The Hollow Man. The Hollow Man just subscribed. The Willow Man. Thanks for joining. Yeah, really cool, like folky. It sounds a little bit like a jazz band improvising here. Adding small details here and there on the violin or the fiddle. Has some cool like bass riffs there. Really cool. So that was Forged in Fire. Party music, great to dance, absolutely. Okay, so any favorite tracks? Let me know here in the chat if you have any favorite tracks from the Witcher soundtrack that we haven't listened to yet. Rudy, any favorite tracks? I'm gonna go down a little bit lower down the list here for all the tracks. The Song of the Sword. We have another composer on this track. It's Percival Schuttenbach, along with Marcin. And it's all over. Gonna re-listen a little bit in the beginning there. I do remember that this track is really emotional. And again, composed by Mikołaj, Stroiński. Yeah, it's the Goosebump track, The Wolf and the Swallow. Thanks for reminding me, Rudy. I forgot about this game of track. It's a very sweet build-up to that climax of this track. Really long build-up too. We're 2 minutes in where we have the climax. And it's really lovely to hear. It's not a lot of instruments in this track, but it really conveys a sad kind of atmosphere with that plucked guitar-like instrument in the background and the cello just leading with these soaring melodies. Just lovely. And some occasional percussion. Some deep percussion far in the background. Just take note of how the ostinato there in the background, or that repeating figure here in the background, how it changes and how it develops and adds pace. And obviously more notes too, but it's really cool to hear how that, if you just listen to that ostinato in the background, how that evolves and changes up until the climax there. We're gonna rewind a little bit so you can hear the build up there and just focus on that ostinato figure. Just a gorgeous track, gorgeous melody, and that build to the climax, and also after the climax with the choir entering too, is just perfect track. The Wolf and the Swallow. Right, so we're gonna do the last track of tonight. So what's it gonna be? Final track of tonight. Must be a good one. I think we must listen to Igni, which means fire. And again, it seems like all those like more emotional tracks where we have these soaring kind of melodies, they are composed by Mikołaj Stroiński. Tretotogor Gate, Midnight. Yeah, but we can play it from somewhere else. That's something else. Here we have it, Tretogor Gate. 1 hour version. I think we can do a short one. I'm gonna skip the commercial. Dang, YouTube commercials, come on. Dum-de-dum. I can sing a little bit until we're here the track. We're gonna listen to The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt OST. Here we go. Oh yeah. Such a beautiful ethereal atmosphere in this track. It's like, why didn't they put this track on the original soundtrack? Beats me. Okay, so I think I know the reason here. Just gonna pause for a little bit. It feels like, if you listen to the flute, it sounds like a sampled flute compared to the other tracks on the released original soundtrack album. So I guess maybe they didn't put tracks that had sampled, that were purely made with sampled instruments on the soundtrack album. I have no idea. Might be one reason, but that's my conclusion from listening just to a little bit part of the track here. Gonna rewind just a little bit so you can pay attention to the flute sound. Definitely a sample flute. Or a very stale player. Definitely sample. Like the vibrato. And also the cello. You hear like all the instruments are so much more stale compared to the other tracks we listened to previously. But the ambience. Yeah, probably. They probably spent all the budget on the other tracks. But I mean, it's pretty obvious if you have a game as big as The Witcher, unlike maybe Clair Obscure, you're not going to spend millions of dollars on every track in the soundtrack. Then the whole game budget is going to go to the music for hiring orchestras and stuff. It's not cheap. As it seems they had put the track on loop there. Really beautiful track, thanks for the suggestion, and really cool to be able to like compare some of these more like ambient tracks towards the original soundtrack, and how they didn't spend proper budget on all the tracks. But it sounds really good. It's not... I'm not hating on the track here. I actually think it's a good track. It sounds really good and all the sounds are on spot. But you can clearly hear it's sampled flute and sampled cello, and maybe the guitar in the background that was like fading in there, maybe that's a real instrument. But indeed, it's only played like in a small section of the track. In this music, is it reusing chords and melodies in a creative way, or is it always changing? No, this track was purely in D, like many of the other tracks, like I talked about earlier when we played different tracks from the soundtrack. We had some tracks that was in C, but mostly it's a D minor. And that's also that phrase that you hear in this track. Da da da, A B C. Sorry, I should disable ducking, because or else my playing here is gonna duck the microphone, or vice versa. Yeah, I always get stuck in the playing as soon as I start playing. I'm just wondering how it stays so dynamic and different where they are reusing notes. Well, one thing, as you heard when I'm playing here, if you're just playing everything on one single instrument, it's gonna get boring if you're not doing flares and like changing octaves and stuff. But if you do that instead with instruments, so maybe one instrument, like we heard in many of the tracks today in the Witcher soundtrack, you have like ostinatos playing D, or in the background. And then you have that phrase in the background. Maybe we could fire up a music application in a future stream and build up a small Witcher piece. But So you have that in the guitar, and then you, in the piano or strings or something, probably like a cello or something, you play the bass notes. And maybe you variate between playing the root and the fifth. So it's all about playing the different notes of the chord with different instruments, and also like diminishing the arrangement, so you don't always play all the notes from the harmony, because say that this is in a D minor, so you have the D, F, and the A in the chord, or the triad chord. Maybe you play the second, the E, and move that F to a G instead, so it becomes a sus4 chord. So you can do all sorts of variations just with this simple D chord. And also that little phrase that I played, or that's played in the arrangement here. ABC, da 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 da. That also gives the piece a certain flavor and climbs out a little bit of that just triad chord, so you get a little bit of minor seventh in there, and the sixth. And you can also do that kind of thing, so you play in the root here, we're still playing the D as in this music piece. I'm just playing the root D. I can actually do, you can do something like this. Let's see. It's easier to show some notes. So now you can see actually what I'm playing here. So you have this droning in the background. Maybe just with the octaves, the D in octaves, or the melody, which is just a triad D chord, the D and F and A. Then we can play something like maybe the E and a C. That gives us variation. And then maybe a guitar comes in playing. And then we have all sorts of variations that we could do. But generally in a music piece like this one, it's mostly about fading in and out different instruments and having different instruments playing different notes from that chord. And not everything at the same time, because yeah, that's like a beginner mistake. I also did that plenty of times in the past. Like add too many instruments at the same time for the tracks. It's often much better to less is more. Rudy, I don't have the ear to detect which note whatever is playing, but it's interesting to notice that most of the soundtrack keep in D. I guess it's a way to unify everything. Yeah, and Rudy, you're definitely correct there. It's one way to also connect different themes. When you go from one area to another area, it's really easy to fade between these different themes if they're in the same key, obviously. And there's a game, or there's a music engine for games called the F-mod, which can make a quite cool transitions, or you can define transitions between different tracks, how different tracks will fade into each other and how the stems should behave and stuff. But I can't recall if they used F-mod music engine on The Witcher. Can't say for sure, but what you can do is just fade one track into another and have them play, if they're in the same like tempo, have them layered so they play along each other like that, and then you fade in one track while you fade out the other track. There's all sorts of stuff they can do. So that's a little bit regarding instrumentation. And if you ever sign up to one of my music courses, I actually have a free film scoring for beginners course. And if you go to edu.morningmedia.com, I'll give you the address here in the chat. Like so. And you sign up there for a free account at my music education platform. You get a free film scoring for a beginner's course, where I go through all different things from spotting a movie to different themes, different thematics and different moods, how to score different moods. So, I mean, it doesn't hurt to go there and explore a little bit if you want to learn more about music. You don't have to be like a music expert to enjoy and get more out of the music experience, so to speak. I can show you the platform briefly here. So you go to edu.morningmedia.com and then you can go to the first opening page. Now I'm logged in here, so. But if you're not signed in, you can just press the sign up button here. Don't know if it's visible. Yeah, there you have it. Sign up. So we have like 1,000 courses, over 1,000 courses sold. There's almost 700 students. We have 32 hours of tutorials, 9 different courses. But press the sign up button here. And you can sign up for a free student account. And that way you get this free film scoring for beginners course. If you want to learn more about film scoring. And I also have like a arranging course, music theory course, if you're into music composition and want to learn more about the music theory aspect. And an arranging course. And depending on what kind of DAW or music application you work with, if you have Logic Pro, if you're on a Mac, you can check out the Logic Pro for beginners course. And there's also a cinematic music course, which is in early access. Yeah, so that's a little bit about my courses. But I'm gonna drop a new video on my channel and talking more about the course platform and how the courses work and everything. Tamasa, do you do criticism on stream? I have a 30-second horror theme score. Yeah, I've done one of these live streams where I listen to community tracks or community beats and then gave a positive, or not positive, but creative feedback. Always in a positive manner, obviously, because I'm not going to hacksaw your tracks. I try to think about everything from a creative exploration perspective. How can we make things, how can we improve things? And that's how I think about my own tracks all the time. How can I improve on the melodies? How can I improve on the harmony, on the voice leading? And yeah, instrumentation, the mix, mastering, everything. There's always things to improve with your tracks. So by all means, you can always log into our Discord channel, Tamasa, and submit your track either to the Discord. There's a specific channel called Share Music with Us on my Gelheim Discord channel. The links are always in the description to these live streams and videos. So you can hop on the Discord channel and either post there or you can send a track by email to me. And I'll see if I can create creative feedback session. And by all means, if you want to support these videos and also get more behind the scenes footage and stuff, sign up to my Patreon at patreon.com/Gelheim. Right, so I hope you enjoyed today's live stream on The Witcher 3 soundtrack. Hope to do more of these and maybe also dissect the Witcher 2 soundtrack or Witcher 1. So we're going to end with a track from my own album, Diabolical Lilith. Called Celtic Emhyr. Welcome new friends. A lot of new people on the Discord channel. Awesome. Thanks for joining in. Yes, it was really fun to explore the Witcher soundtrack today. A lot of nice memories and nice themes. Thanks for joining, Bastion. Welcome. Yeah, definitely a Witcher fanboy. Less is more. Sometimes. It's a cool melody. Also very folky. Yeah, so that was Celtic Emhyr. I'm glad you enjoyed this track. Indeed, it's a very emotional and laid-back track. Next up, let's listen to Mistborn, and then it's finally time to close down for tonight, but I just want you to hear this one. Some really cool sounds in this one. Yeah, and the ending here is quite mysterious too. Darkness. Yeah, so that was Mistborn, also a track from my album Diabolical Lilith. There's also a part 2 of the Diabolical Lilith, so there's tons of tracks in a similar vein if you want to explore more of that vibe in the soundtrack universe. East Game had a question here, why Witcher 3 though, and not the whole trilogy? Especially the first one, the soundtrack is magnificent. Between check out the Wolf and Storm, like a Priscilla song from the Witcher 3 by Mitch Murder. Yeah, there's some really cool tracks in the other Witcher games, obviously, but I have a special connection with the Witcher 3 game. Obviously, I wanted to talk about the Bloody Baron storyline and also explore the overall vibe of the instrumentations and the harmony here in Witcher 3. I think it's really cool. Distinct sound to this soundtrack. But obviously we can hook up and maybe do a Witcher 1 and 2 soundtrack live stream too in the near future. But we have some other games to cover, and I'm going to also continue holding some polls over at my Patreon account. So again, if you like these live streams and this game music show, make sure to hook up over at my Patreon, patreon.com/Gellane. So you don't miss out on any of these upcoming episodes, because YouTube has a strange way of recommending videos and recommending live streams. It's hard to navigate in the noise. And yeah. T-Sama, maybe in a future stream. So big thanks for joining in, guys, tonight. Make sure to leave a like here on the video, and also write comments, engage on my videos. That's always helpful to drive this little game music empire forward. Because I love to do this, and hope to share some tips and tricks throughout, and just enjoy some great music. Get new ideas from music, because listening to these very different variations of soundtracks gives you so much inspiration. At least I feel very inspired when listening to all these different themes and sound worlds. It's very uplifting and awesome. Yeah, so I'm going to close down for tonight and continue my playthrough of Silksong. Gonna continue dying in Silksong. That's just how it is. Yeah, Rudy, Tomas. Easy game. The hard problem. Bufidit. 8 art 3K. Super Scary Ghost. Thank you. Foxos. Thanks everybody for joining in. Tomas. Have a splendid evening, and yeah, continue playing Witcher 3. And don't forget your D. You always have to play in D. Thanks. Bye.